Live from Seattle with Michelle Mendoza resumes. Here's Michelle.
Happy Monday. We call this More Than Money Monday because we get to the deeper story and help you to navigate not just how you make money, preparing yourself for your career, finding joy in your career, and the things that money just can't buy. Satisfaction in the workplace, that's something that money just can't buy. And it's also something that seems to be at bay for a lot of folks. So today on Live from Seattle, we're talking about working from home, remote learning, some of the problems that have arisen since COVID-19. John Paul Mendocha has been on our program before. He has a great last name. He just spells it wrong. You know, Mendoza sounds pretty, And he has been with us before with a book. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. So he has a tremendous background in business. But here's the thing. He is a pioneer in remote work. He's been doing it for 33 years. He has authored the remote work for a better world. That's powerful. Remote work for a better world. So he knows, he's going to share. We're going to learn from him. John Paul, welcome.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate being back, Michelle. And we can talk about who left the peninsula first or the Iberian. So.
Right? Well, here, whether you're on the peninsula, if you're in downtown Seattle, if you're stuck anywhere in the state, we're in another round of lockdowns. And just as we were encroaching back in the office, we've got to go back. Maybe we've learned some things, but maybe we're in a bit of anxiety because there is still some learning curve. What do you think is the most difficult thing for those of us who have to be stuck back at home?
Well, I think you get this kind of, Zoom fatigue because you've been on enough Zoom calls and you just get exhausted. And I think it's because we have a tendency to just kind of get on there and we don't know exactly what we're going to do. So I would just say to someone, look, just because the technology allows us to connect this way doesn't necessarily mean we have to do it, 4, 5, 7 times a day. Let's think about what we're going to do. I would caution everyone, write out what you want to accomplish, get on, talk about what you're going to do, make sure you have a little bit of time for some banter and some other things, share some stuff, and for whatever sanity you want to keep, don't talk about the COVID thing one more time. I mean, we can, but it's, let the elephant go. Just move on.
Just move on. There's something else that folks have mentioned that in some workplaces where they create a work culture, people feel the necessity to have work happy hours where they get together and they talk, they drink coffee or a glass of wine, and it's more social. But that can also create an awkward situation if you don't feel you really want to be part of it. When you're in an office place, I bet you could say, oh, I need to go home, I need to make dinner. But when you're at home and you're stuck there, you don't have much of an excuse.
Well, I guess I could just put together a book of alibis. Let's see, my internet is getting sporadic, or let's see, my kids are juggling, and it's a little dangerous. I think what happens is that we have a tendency to not understand how to set limits and how to set what is appropriate or not appropriate. And as you said, I left a regular office a long time ago, and what I suggest can make this so much easier is look around and say, how do I turn the space that I have into my space? Now, I know that you may have to be sharing it with other parts of your family or whatever, but you need to figure out how to build a little workspace that's your workspace. And once you have that, I think a little bit of sanity happens. And, if you saw my office, which we always hide conspicuously on video by a green screen, but my office, just looks like my office. But it's how I've built it out, and it works for me. So you have to build what works for you, and, and things are going to happen, and you're just going to have to accept it. So if your kids Zoom bomb on you or something, understand that takes place. I mean, my case, I have a cat who absolutely loves me, and this cat purrs so loud that people wonder if I'm, revving a motorcycle engine. And I say, yeah, it just happens to be our cat, and you just have to kind of roll with it. And I think not taking yourself too seriously helps.
I like that, but I think there needs to be some balance. So there's something charming about your cat purring, or maybe a child accidentally walking in with a boo-boo. Those kind of things can be charming. Not taking yourself too seriously can be good, but there are some things where we cross the line. Maybe not wearing pants and then getting up during a Zoom meeting, which we saw an awful lot, even on national network television sometimes when the COVID shutdowns first happened. So there's some taboo things to do too that you shouldn't do.
Yeah, I think that the thing that you have to do, you're right. I mean, you have to make sure that you understand. And here's the other part: is that sometimes you can become so relaxed that you're not aware of what image you're trying to project. So if you're sitting there, here's something I say to people: if you're going to be interviewed, or if you're going to go out and get a job interview, or you're going to talk to customers or something, consider going and brushing your teeth. And you're going to say, wow, that's a crazy idea. Well, I actually got it from the first job I ever had, which was selling Mr. Coffee's wholesale on the phone. And the best guy who sold those, this guy Roger, would say, John, if you're going to call a big customer, and I'll leave the expletives out because he couldn't get through a sentence without them. But he said,
No.
go brush your teeth. And I said, Roger, I'm on the phone. And he goes, but you can smell it, and it'll affect you. It absolutely works. And it's a little thing, it's a little thing that you can do.
I like that. I've also noticed that people who have the most success when going to work, even if they're dressing a little more casually, they wear casual clothes, brush your teeth, maybe brush your hair, even if you're not going to be on a Zoom call. That way, when you're done with work, that drive home sometimes is that transition. Sometimes just go into the bedroom, changing into some at-home clothes or pajama pants can be a bit of a transition to keep you from feeling like you're working 24/7. I also wanted to talk about some of the help we can give to employers. I think that employers have a hard time with control instead of trust during COVID-19. You get the product out, you must be doing the job, but somehow they feel that they have to be Zooming, they have to be checking in, you should be writing a report on everything that you're doing. It's starting to make some people feel a little overwhelmed and like maybe their bosses are a little heavy-handed.
Well, and what happens in that regard is that you feel disconnected, so you feel like you're a little bit out of control. So if you're a controlling type of person and you know who you are out there, because you're probably reaching for that remote or something, is that what you have to do is remember a really simple rule, which is whatever is on the top of their mind is what they're working on. Now, if you expect these people to go through and do elaborate documentation, you have to ask yourself, am I actually going to use it? Is it adding value? Does it provide more clarity? And more importantly, does it reinforce the values of the team that we're trying to put together? And if it doesn't do one of those four things or all of them, you have to then question whether or not you want to do it. If you don't trust your people, then you should just fire them, right? So you get rid of them.
Yeah.
But if you trust them, then what you need to do is you need to give them the space to do what their job is and watch and make sure that happens.
And if you want to fire all of your people because you feel like you don't trust them, maybe there's a problem with you.
Invariably, I run into that a lot, especially as a consultant, where people will say, where my client will say, my people are the problem, and I go and talk to all the employees, and they say, no, it's actually the boss, and it's a delicate balance at that point in time because people won't fire themselves. I can tell you that. But I think making sure that everyone understands what is expected of them, and then more importantly, giving them the space to go out and do what they need to do on a regular basis, and then that way we know whether or not they're actually making progress or not.
We're talking with John Paul Mendocha. He has authored Remote Work for a Better World. Fabulous help for those of us who are stuck in a remote world again. He also wrote a book that's helpful for businesses. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes 3 to 5 years to realize it. I just decided that I liked you a whole lot just from that title when we spoke months and months ago. In these last few moments, I wanted to talk about the business owner. We had some help for those who who are working and learning to work remote, but businesses are really struggling right now because of circumstances often out of their control. John Paul, even during the Depression, when people were really suffering, there were businesses that found ways to make money. So, and there's still money out there. So there still is hope for businesses. How do we find it?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you get this simple formula in your head. You're probably going to work 2 to 4 times harder for about half the money. So just kind of get over that. Don't think about what you made in 18 or 19. It's what we have today. So just kind of get into that mindset. The second thing is to tell everybody that you're open for business. Real quick story. These 2 guys run this business and they repair Hondas and Acuras, and they've been working on my cars for years. And I drive up to them after the shutdown had been in place for a while, and I say, the van needs to be worked on. And they're sitting there, and I said, are you guys open? And they said, yeah, every day. And I said, well, you haven't told me about this. Now, this is like weeks and weeks into it. And they said, well, John, we have a really good formula. Every morning we get in between 7 and 7:30, and we open up the roller doors, and we flip the sign to say open. That's what we've been doing for 22 years. They had no mechanism or method of telling me they were available, that they were open, that they were doing things. I said, well, for heaven's sakes, I don't want to see you go out of business. You're good guys. And who's going to fix my car? So why don't you go out there and start telling people that you're open, that you want them to come by? And I see this a lot because they don't tell people. We have to go out there and tell them we're still here. We want your business. We need your business. We're in this together. And if you're considering doing whatever you do, please come and solicit and work with us. And I think that would help a lot of businesses, Michelle, because most people are in some ways so traumatized, and they're like, well, nobody's really doing anything. And then I have to say it again, please don't make the entire conversation about how the world is coming to an end, because you probably won't have a lot of people who want to hang around with you and when you do that.
No, let's be part of the solution. We have something to offer. And even in the midst of difficult circumstances, there is hope. I love that you're always dealing hope, John Paul Mendocha, and it's always a pleasure to have you on live from Seattle. Keep coming back. We love you.
Excellent. And you can get the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple. Also, you can go to the website, the positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. And would love to hear about success stories, but also challenges. You never know when you might get a phone call from me, and I give you a little bit of something that'll help you out.
We'd love it. Thanks again.